All right, man. This is episode number 70 of the Cozy Corner of Cinema. This is being recorded on Monday, July 31st, 2023 at 3:18 p.m. A nice cool breeze in the air today. It seems like we're finally getting away from the scorching heat. On Saturday I was pretty sick. I had some gnarly vertigo for half the day, and I was incapacitated. I had planned on getting a lot of writing done that day, and really just to focus on that because the previous weekend was so hectic, and I just didn't get an opportunity to accomplish as much as I intended to. And then I had to deal with that setback, and it was, I got the fans on, and I'm feeling cool, so I get under the blankets, and I fall asleep for a bit, and then I wake up, and you guys ever get that feeling, you just wake up under the blankets, you just feel yourself sweating to the bed, and then I take them off, and then now because I'm getting hot, and then now the fan's keeping it cool, it reminds me of that part in Walk Hard. Doctor, he needs more blankets. And he comes back, doctor, he needs less blankets. And they come back, doctor, he needs more and less blankets. I'm afraid you're right, doctor. Actually, that was feeling like. But yeah, no, it all got done. I'm glad I finally got that Blu-ray episode out. I didn't really think I was going to be able to that day. Let alone this weekend. I was thinking like I'm gonna get one of these episodes out today, and I'm gonna get the other one out around Sunday or Monday. And I was laying there in bed thinking, oh gosh, I'm not gonna get either of these done in time because I like to have the latest Blu-ray episode out before the previous month. But thankfully that got done. It ended up actually being the longest episode. I had quite a bit to say on a lot of those films. A lot of really good films mentioned in that episode. So if you're interested at all in some recommendations or films worthy of your time, go ahead and give that a listen. I guess I never really mentioned that the show is on YouTube and Spotify. I put it in the descriptions, but I know not everybody has Spotify, and sometimes it's easier to listen on YouTube. So, and I get that, I totally get that. Um, but yeah, no, just got to make sure that the time that you have, you're using it wisely. You're making sure you're doing exactly what it is you want to do with it, and if that means canceling plans or cutting out nonsense from your life, cutting out nonsensical people, just getting rid of all that nonsense, it's just not worth it, man. You got to really focus on yourself and what you want to do and whom you want to surround yourself with. I know I've been doing that a lot, just really trying to focus on the narrative that, you set forth and just really stay focused and maintained on that. So I got in my last Criterion order for the month. And I didn't buy a whole lot this month, admittedly. I got some finances coming up for the second half of the year and other titles that I plan to get, and, bigger titles and expenses that will have to be expenses that have to be done. So I wasn't able to get as much as I normally would have liked to, but I still got a handful of titles that I've been meaning to get. And I tell you, oh sorry, I forgot to silence my phone. Receive a text message. Go ahead and mute that. I think I mentioned before my complete frustration at shopping in store at trying to get some of these titles. I really don't like going to the store and purchasing films. I'd rather just buy them online because you go to the store and they don't have much. Or, my local Barnes and Noble, I've just been so frustrated with their lack of the titles that are not being put out, or they put, the spider webs on the box sets that just ruins the packaging, and it's just very disheartening. But last time I grabbed a couple of titles. I grabbed the I think I may have talked about this, I don't remember, but I grabbed the Michael Haneke trilogy box sets. I grabbed two Melville films, Army of Shadows and Les Samurai. And the only one I've seen out of all those films was The Seventh Continent. I haven't seen the other ones, so I'm looking forward to grabbing those. But some of the other titles that I intended to get just were not available. They just didn't put a lot of them out, unfortunately. And I understand, you go there when sales happening that there's going to be a lot of titles not on the shelf, but I've just had many experiences in the past where I would place an order to, buy online, pick up in store, and it would always get canceled. Like, 9 out of 10 times it would get canceled because they couldn't find it or something like that. And, it's what it is. You never want to be rude to anybody like that. If you go there and you ask for something and they don't have it, you just say thank you for looking, and then you move on. You don't, make sure you're being kind about it. Don't be a jerk about that or anything like that. It's just, it's always going to be options. But I ordered from BarnesNoble.com, and I think I'm going to start doing that from now on because, I ordered these on last Thursday, I believe. Thursday or Friday, and I got these in the mail today, so it's only a couple days, and all in good condition, seemingly. Minor things here and there, but nothing really, damaging. I'm just talk about some of these briefly. I've seen most of these that I've bought, but besides a couple. Actually, I think there's only 2 of these I haven't seen. Well, I guess technically 4, because one of these is a collection, but but I wanted to grab the remainder of the Godard films that I didn't already own on Blu-ray from Criterion. So I picked up Vivre sa vie with Anna Karenina. I'm sorry. I think of the play Anna Karenina. Or is that a play or is that a book? I'm not actually sure. But I watched this on TCM a little while ago, and this is definitely probably top 5 favorite Godard films right here, along with the next film when we talk about. I really thought this is a terrific film. It would make a great pairing with something like Belle de Jour by Louis Buñuel. And just terrific stuff right here. I'm trying to read some of the special features that are on here, but I'll have to take a look at that after, so it's not too many pauses. What I noticed about a lot of these that I purchase is in terms of books previously read that has given me better context to a lot of these films. Like I was talking about the Godard book that I read. I forgot which one it was. It was just called Godard, and gives perspective to a lot of these films coming out. And I think that book was written before, it goes up to, I think, like the mid-2000s, so before the Image book, before Goodbye to Language, before all those, when he started to, I haven't seen Goodbye to Language, but to my knowledge, I think it's in line with something like the Image book. I might be wrong with that, but I think it's a specific era of Godard. But anyways, yeah, this is top 5 Godard right here. This is a really terrific film. Will have to be rewatched, absolutely. And a film that I talked about recently that I watched for the first time, another one of Godard's films that is definitely top 5. This is kind of the last of this era of Godard that I find most interesting, and that's his film Weekend. Could also be Weekend or Weekend, which is kind of how I see like the end of cinema, really. If you have seen this film, this is from 1967, and I don't know if this was his last film that he did in the 60s or not, because when reading that book, it's the amount of films that he directed is staggering. The amount of eras that he went through in terms of just trying to look at it from above, trying to see. Did I say before that La Petite Soldad was his follow-up to Breathless? Because I might have been wrong about that. I'm looking here. I'm trying to get some of these dates right so I don't stumble over my own words. I just want to take a look here. There was also a collection of his short films that I wanted to get. They were part of a collection that I didn't. Okay, I do apologize. I think at one point I said that La Petite Soldad was his follow-up to Breathless, but actually he did A Woman is a Woman and the film I just spoke of, Vivre sa vie, as well as it looks like an anthology, The Seven Deadly Sins, which I am not familiar with. Oh wow, that's cool. Philippe de Broca, Claude Chabrol, and Jacques Demy. Ooh, I'm gonna have to keep an eye on this, man. I don't know what this is. 7 directors, each dramatized one of the 7 deadly sins. Ooh, that seems cool, man. Wow, what a lineup here. Sylvia Ndome, Jean-Luc Godard, Edouard Molinaro, did I say that right? Roger Vadim, and Max Doy. You probably got some of those names wrong. But wow, ooh, I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that. What a great discovery. Yeah, Weekend is great. I love this film. I was looking up 1967, so he did a film like any other from 1968, Le Gai Sauveur, in 69. Okay. I guess I kind of look at this as an end of that era, but I haven't seen those films. I'm going to talk about this recently. Probably his darkest film, the end of kind of his more kind of whimsical, humorous era, I would say. Mean-spirited at times and dark for sure, but also has that touch of Godard's editing that makes his work stand out so much so to his contemporaries. Great stuff there. Both of these definitely top 5 Godard favorites right there. Grab that Blu-ray of After Hours from Martin Scorsese. I grabbed the 4K of this, starring the great Griffin Dunne. And I was talking to some acquaintances who had seen this film for the first time because of this 4K and Blu-ray, and I love that we are getting that Criterion and Scorsese have been working together so much. Obviously, they've been. I mean, they've put out much of his work. You know, The Age of Innocence, his short films, his early short films, Raging Bull, The Irishman, After Hours. This will definitely be rewatched soon. Because the last time I watched this was actually on like a DVD I got from Walmart many years ago. But definitely looking forward to this. A new conversation between director Martin Scorsese and writer Fran Lebowitz. Yes, this is a priority right here to rewatch. I talked about a little while ago the Norman Mailer book that I read, Double Life, and I did end up grabbing Eclipse Series 35, which is 3 of his experimental works: Maidstone, Wild 90, and Beyond the Law. And Maidstone, most infamous of the 3 for the well-documented and filmed altercation between Rip Torn and Norman Mailer. And after reading that Norman Mailer book, I'm very fascinated in these. And like I said with the Godard book, having context is also very important as to where Norman Mailer was at this point in time. This is this was just such a great discovery to come across. I had no idea this existed. I really want to grab more of these Eclipse series that Criterion, and I don't know if Yana's films have any sort of anything to do with these, or if it's just Criterion. My throat's a little dry. I do apologize if it sounds like a little dry, but also I recommend in the conversation A Town of Bloody Hall, which I talked about a little while ago. Also available from Criterion on Blu-ray. Very fascinating and often frequently funny debate between Norman Mailer and some of his controversial opinions on women's lib against 5 feminists at the time. And that's such a fun and funny film, and reading about it in the book is just it's just fantastic. Norman Mailer was such a character, and whether you love or hate him, he's one of a kind, and I'm really looking forward to watching these films because I have not seen any of these. I've only seen Tough Guys Don't Dance, which I really like, in a specific way. That's definitely not for everybody, but worth watching, absolutely. I was back and forth between this film and L'Eclise, both from Michelangelo and Antonioni, but I ended up grabbing Lynott because I love this film. And I've only ever seen it once off TCM, and it really just left an impact on me. It stars Marcello Mastroianni and Jean Moreau, and just a great what Antonioni does so well is his dialogue and his characters. I think he is just a brilliant filmmaker, and everything I've seen from him, I've seen most of his heavy hitters. I think the last heavy hitter that I need to see is probably The Passenger. But, you know, I mean, Blow Up is one of my favorite films ever. L'Eclise is great. I think Red Desert is brilliant. I talked about Zabriskie Point a little while ago. Not quite up to snuff with his other works, which shouldn't be compared. But a very interesting and angry film on its own. But Lynott is... La Ventura, of course. I can't believe, how are you going to skip over that? But, he has become my favorite Italian filmmaker. And it's you don't want to choose too many favorites because it's good to give different contexts. I love many different bands for many different reasons. I love many different artists and books and films for different reasons. So to say that one is better than the other is ridiculous. But at least as of right now, Antonioni's work as an Italian filmmaker is one whom I've been drawn to the most as of lately. Another Godard film, actually these last two are both Godard films. I'm trying to complete, like I said, the Blu-rays there, but I know I need to grab a couple more of the DVDs that Criterion have released, like 2 or 3 Things I Know About Her and Made in USA, which I haven't seen either of those. But I grabbed one of his 80s work, which is Every Man for Himself, starring, I believe, Isabel Hubert is in one of these. Let me see. After a decade in the wilds of avant-garde and early video experimentation, Jean-Luc Godard returned to commercial cinema with the star-driven work of social commentary while remaining defiantly intellectual and formally cutting-edge. Every Man for Himself, featuring a script from Jean-Claude Carrière and Anne-Marie Melville, probably said that wrong, looks at the sexual and professional lives of three people: a television director, Jacques Trunot, his ex-girlfriend, Nathalie Bay, and a prostitute, Isabelle Hubert, to create a meditative story about work, relationships, and the notions of freedom. Made 20 years into his career, it was, Godard said, his first film. Very cool. His later work I find interesting, but I'm not quite as drawn to. One of his films I have to rewatch for the 1993 episode, which I'm blanking on the name of right now. It's the one that he did with Gerard Depardieu, and I forgot what the English name is. It is Oh, Woe Is Me, also known as Hella pour moi, Yes, I believe this is it. Yes, this is the one. I'll have to watch that again. I don't think it'll make the list, but it was one that when I initially watched it, it felt very distant from some of his other work. It felt very experimental in a way that it's an interesting film. I don't really know how to classify it. I don't know. It's got a weird kind of coldness that I can't quite put my finger on it. But I am definitely going to be rewatching that for the episode. And the last of his work that I grabbed, I ended up actually upgrading to the 4K of Breathless, even though on one of the Blur episodes I said I wasn't going to. But I've been actively wanting to rewatch this. I've only ever seen this film once, and now, given more context with seeing Godard's career as a whole, I think I want to rewatch this to get a different perspective on it from when I initially had seen it. And I figured that with the sale going on, that the 4K was a good opportunity to go ahead and do that. I don't know if the features are any different on this release or not. I did not look. It looks like perhaps some of the same interviews with Jean-Luc Godard, actors Jean-Paul Belmondo, Jean Steenberg, and Jean-Pierre Melville, director of photography Raoul Coutard, assistant director Pierre Orient, and filmmaker D.A. Panabaker. So perhaps... I think I've actually seen one of these. It includes a short film, Charlotte et son Jules, from 1959, starring Jean-Paul Belmondo. I think I've actually seen that one. I'm not sure. If that's the one I'm thinking of, then, well, I don't have a way to describe that without rambling on, so I'm not going to. But nice thick packaging on this. Will definitely be watched sooner than later. And I think that's it for the Godard Criterion Blues that I needed. Unless I'm missing one, but I don't think I am. But I'm sure maybe it'll come to me later if I am missing one. But ended up just getting those 6 or 7 titles, I believe. So those will all be watched in due time. I got that Kino sale happening right now, and I end up not grabbing anything from the sale. I may grab some titles next week, but as for the time being, I was sort of knowing that there were some of these titles that I'd been wanting for a little while that I wanted to finally grab. There's a lot on the Kino site that I definitely want and would like to own, but we'll have to come back to those in due time. And I don't know when they have their next sale. I think it's October or November, around that time. But either way, those will be checked on down the line for that. On the complete opposite end, we're going to talk about a strange film I watched last night that I think is worthy of bringing up in context with some other films. I watched this film, I believe it's shot on video, 1986. Let me get the director's name up here, because I don't think the director did a whole lot of other work. And I at least want to mention the man's name. This is from director Brett McCormick. He directed this in 1986, I believe shot on video film. I should also say, it looks like he has actually done a bit of other work. He's done films such as Tabloid from 1989, Highway to Hell from 1990, Armed for Action from 1992. Actually did quite a bit after this. 12 listed, including as recently as I See World Peace from 2012, so about 11 years now. But he has this film The Abomination from 1986. Now, I put this film on, and in the first 5 minutes, I had to double check to make sure I was watching the right film. It's a montage of gore sequences of giant teeth out of a toilet eating toilet paper. It's like a reel of kills. And I thought it was some kind of music video or some sort of compilation that someone did. And I'm like, there's no way this could be the film, because they're just showing all the kills. So I'm watching it, and I'm like, all right, let's just see what happens. I'll give it like 10 minutes, and if it's like this, I'll skip ahead and see if I even clicked on the right one. And lo and behold, I did. Now, why they decided to start the film off by showing everything, I could not tell you. I guess maybe if you wanted to watch the film, but you're like, damn, I only have 5 minutes. I only want to see the goods. I want to see who lives and who dies. Well, then you're in luck, brother. Because you got the first 5 minutes is all the kills. At least I think most of them. And they replay them a lot, too. So it's like there's not enough to fill those 5 minutes. I mean, it's a dream sequence. And he wakes up, the main character wakes up, and you're like, what the hell did I just watch? And then as you're watching the film and it goes through the events again, you start to realize, wait a minute, I've seen all this. What the hell's going on? Were they just replaying the footage? Now, granted, it's very impressive special effects and very nightmarish quality. I think there's something about the... Now, again, I don't think this is shot on video. I think this might be shot on, like, Super 8. Actually, I think it... You know what? I believe it actually is shot on Super 8. Because this doesn't look like SLV, but I think I heard somebody say that it was. That kind of led me astray. You got to keep an eye on that when you talk about a lot of these films, like Truth or Dare or Killing Spree. These films that were not shot on video, but were either shot on tape and put on, and upgraded to SOV. But yeah, definitely keep an eye on that. If you want examples, that you got like films that were SOV, like Video Violence or Cannibal Campout, which just got a Blu-ray from TerraVision, which didn't pop up on the Blu-ray list, but I would have loved to have talked about that, because I'm a big fan of Cannibal Campout from, I think it's Donald... Who directed that? Make sure I got the name of this right. I almost said Donald Farmer, but I know it's not true. It's John McBride, that's what it was. Tom, you know what? I think the reason why I should remember that is because I was talking to somebody about this film once, and they called John McBride Danny McBride. And I thought, Danny McBride directed Cannibal Campout? What? That doesn't seem right, and it wasn't right. Also co-directed by Tom Fisher. But The Abomination, it's a strange film. It's a film that reminds me of a comparison, not as egregiously, but in line of a Barry J. Gillis film. Something like Things, or maybe Wicked World. But I think with the special effects here much better and, more coherent than either of those films. And those films are an identity of their own. But when I'm watching this film, some of the ADR and some of the things that happen, the unintentionally surreal, dreamlike quality that happens at times, it was reminding me a lot of those films. Now, I don't think this is as good as either of those films. I mean, those films are either totally on board for you or not. I mean, they're very strange, very there's no films like those two. So it doesn't even feel right totally. It doesn't totally feel like comparing it to those. I'm really not, but I'm talking about in line with something like that, where if you were up and you finished watching those films and you wanted more, I think this would be in good company with those, because the special effects in this are very solid. They have this creature coming out of the walls that with these giant teeth, and there's some great stabbings. There's a throat slit they show a lot, which they show off the special effects quite a bit. And if that's what you're into, is the marveling of the special effects, I think you would like this film. Although it's not, it's a low budget film, and it's the violence isn't, it's not consistent enough for it to be something in the lines of like an Andreas Schnoss film, where it's just almost reels of violence with a paper-thin, practically non-existent storyline behind it, until perhaps maybe the later of his work with like Zombie Doom or I don't even, I couldn't tell you the plot of any of those films, man. But if that's what you're looking for, I don't think you'd be disappointed in this. I will say, it's an hour 40, and it can really be grating sometimes. They reuse a lot of special effects. They reuse a lot of sound effects. There's one moment specifically where a character is dying, and they are using the same scream repeatedly, and it is grating as all hell. It reminded me of that sequence in Joe D'Amato's Absurd, aka Monster Hunter, when you have the one kid on the other side of the door and his sister who is trying to get to the door, but the kid keeps going, saying the sister's name, Katya, 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 and it goes on. And you're just like, my gosh, man, I don't care if George Eastman or Katya gets him. Someone's got to get this kid first, because he just keeps saying it, and it's wild as hell, and it has, actually, like Absurd, now I'm thinking about it, has the sequences of violence at times in that just go on and on to the point where it's just excessive, and not even gratuitous in a way. It's not excessively gratuitous, it's just excessive, where you're just wondering how long it can go on for. But ultimately, it's a fascinating film. It perhaps could benefit from an edit of a solid amount. Did I say it was an hour 40? I think it's actually an hour and a half, but IMDb lists it as an hour 40. Unless I watched a different version, but I don't believe I did. But if you were into a lot of the work that perhaps maybe someone like Bleeding Skull puts out, or maybe a lot of AGFA stuff, I don't know if this has a Blu-ray or not. I mean, I watched this on YouTube, so you'd have to look it up for yourself. But if you like those kinds of films, those weird kind of transgressive, outsider, weird horror films, then I think that, oh my goodness, there's a Blu-ray coming. Look at this. This is coming out next month in September. Wow, this is going from Visual Vengeance. Holy macaroni. Look at that. Wow, okay. Well, I guess just wait for the Blu-ray then. Wow. Over 5 hours of bonus content, never-before-seen outtakes, behind-the-scenes footage, feature-length interview with director Brett McCormick, and more. Wow. Well, I guess I'll be picking this one up. So, keep an eye out for The Abomination coming from Visual Vengeance on September 26th. Okay. So be it. Well, I suppose I will wrap that up for the episode. Plenty of quality films got in the mail, as well as The Abomination. What a world. Okay, thank you for listening.